The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
This podcast is for adults only, should not be used as a meal replacement, and may contain nuts.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Noobie and the Doobie. My name is Timmy. I am the Noobie.
Mary Jane, I am the Doobie.
We're very excited today to have with us on the spot Jeremy Smith from Les Munchies. I love the French accent. Anytime I get a chance to use the accent, I try my best. Did I nail either of those properly?
Oh, you banged it on very, very perfectly. Love it.
Nice. I think the moment I was told that I didn't have to take French, so I took French in grade 9, and when I found out from my guidance counselor the next year that it wasn't required, I abandoned French like that. I was out, and I kind of regret. Like the only phrase I know now is "Jeremy, parlez-vous bonjour chien?"
Oh, really? Do I talk good dog?
Yeah, pamplemousse. That's kind of the extent of my my French. So MJ does a little bit better than me.
Well, I've always wondered my name in French, would it be Marianne? Because the J might be silent.
It'd be more silent.
Would I be Marianne? Marianne. Either way, it's beautiful.
Becker. So Jeremy, I would not have known you were French. Jeremy Smith sounds like the most English name out there. But you have
like a John Smith. Almost.
Like a John, yeah, one step above John Smith. Yeah. Born where? French background, first generation.
Yeah, I'm born here, second generation. My grandma and grandpa were German and French during the war. They were Schmidt. So actually German, and then they added the H and came here just to blend in with that H to the Smith, right? So
gotcha. Okay, nice. So can you speak French right now then?
I can, but like I said, it's been many, many, many years. I understand it better than I speak it now. I pretty much lost my accent, and but that's okay. I still understand it. Comes in handy when I was managing bars, that's for sure. Because we got a lot of truck drivers come through Woodstock. And,
yeah. It's always better though for myself, who has no French background, to throw out a French phrase and butcher it than it is for somebody who is has a generational French background. And so I can understand why you wouldn't want to try it now, because that gets risky.
That would be like me to speak Italian.
Right? Can you speak Italian?
No.
Oh,
They call me a mangia cake.
A mangia cake? That sounds like munchies.
It does, but it's not a term of endearment.
My wife is Cambodian, so I'm trying to learn Cambodian words at the same time. And because my French accent, when I put it into the certain syllables, it sounds terrible. And I've said some pretty inappropriate things to people that don't speak English, and I didn't realize it. So it's fun. It's fun though. Like I'm trying to learn.
Nice.
But it's awesome.
Les Munchies is a restaurant, correct?
Yeah, I will be opening up as a restaurant. Yes.
Okay, and is Munchies French for something, or is it literally just munchies?
Yes, munchies. You gotta get the high, the munchies from being high, but you're also eating, so it's munchies. So it's a play on double word of munchies. So
tell us then when we're gonna jump kind of what you're doing right now briefly before we go a deep dive back. That's where MJ really loves to go. But just to see where people can see where this journey is taking us, are you a restaurateur or a chef? What exactly do you do? What is Les Munchies?
So right now I work in a hospital, and I was managing bars for security. So I've worked in the food industry for over 12 years. About 13, 14 years, I worked as a sous chef. I worked as a line prep. I've always worked in kitchens. Then I geared away. I stopped smoking cannabis, and I went back to college, took police foundations. And then after health issues, I started coming back to loving cannabis. So that's why I'm looking at opening up a restaurant, because I want to be able to help people like myself who have medical issues and so on and so on. So that's why it's coming up as Les Munchies.
Cool. Well, I can tell already when we take the deep dive backwards now, like somebody who
Police
smoked
foundations. I'm
and then
like,
got rid of it and
Yeah.
then came back is.
no, even more. You missed the whole police foundation.
Oh, I didn't miss it. I heard it.
Stopped, he went to foundations and then came back.
Yeah.
That's even more like. See, I can
See,
believe
that-
the police foundations thing more than I can the French though, because like you look like you would have been.
That's the mindset. That's the mindset of a doobie versus a newbie. She's
Yeah.
like, he said police.
I'm like,
he said
what?
police.
He was going to be a cop, and then he
Yeah.
went
And I'm
back
just
to
like,
smoking
okay,
weed?
yeah.
What was this?
No.
Pre-legalization, or I'm like, I have so many
This is
questions.
pre, yeah.
Okay.
Well, everyone in my family, not everyone, most people in my family are police officers. So they're OPP, RCMP, everything like that. I weighed 120 pounds at 23, so I decided to join a gym. I got up to 240 pounds in about 10 years, eating 8,000, 10,000 calories a day. I worked out 16 hours a week, and I just grinded hard to put on weight. I then went to police foundations, graduated, started doing security management, bar security, trying to get like into the groove. But pretty much every time I applied for policing, it was, sorry, we're looking for white males over 35, or we're looking for, different nationalities, or so on and so on. Even though that I kept placing top 7 or something like that, I just wouldn't get it just because I don't fit what they're looking for. So I ended up working at a St. Joe's Hospital here in London, Ontario, just doing cleaning and biohazard disposals and waxing and driving the Zamboni around and doing all the fun stuff, right? And then on the weekends, I would go and manage bars. So it was some pretty fun times where I'd see people leave the bar, go to work on the next day, and I'd see them in the hospital. And I'd be like, what happened to you? You left the bar fine. And what happened? And they'd be like, broken arm, or I ran down the train track and fell or something, right? So it was a pretty interesting career path, but now because of my health, I'm not working, and I decided to do this instead.
Fantastic. Well, let's go back. MJ, put out your favorite question in the entire universe.
I'm sorry, I was having a flashback because I used to also ride the floor burnisher, the carpet extract, and that because I used to work at Durham College as a cleaner doing the same thing. And I just had a flashback because I used to clean the police foundations.
Oh, that's funny.
And I remember going down there, and I just want to say they were the filthiest out of all of the college. Like, there's a reason why they nicknamed them pigs, and now I know that. It's because they're messy.
They're messy. Everything is, we have housekeepers. That's what they're for, and that's it.
Yeah, but like I remember because I would go and smoke a joint on my lunch, and then I would go down police foundations with my little cart, my cleaning cart, and I'd go in as quickly as I could. And so I was having a flashback there. That was going way back. So let's go back to your way back. When was the very first experience? Okay, you don't have to date yourself. You don't have to say how old you were, but was it a pleasant experience? Was it
my first time ever?
Yeah,
first time ever. I would have been 15.
We're talking cannabis, just so you know.
Pardon me? Yeah. Well, actually, the double question answered right there, 15.
The year you just said.
So 15. Actually, a couple of my buddies from Jamaica, they introduced me to it, and it was some good stuff. From there, it just took off. I smoked for years. Ended up kind of getting kicked out of home when I was 17 for partying too much and being the typical rebellious one. From there, I just kept working and 2-3 jobs a day, every day, plus partying after work. Just typical 17-year-old, living on his own. So it was a great experience. Great experience.
But when you were introduced to it, did it come as a shock? Like it was something that did you know much about it? Was it just kind of like, you're standing there and this foreign thing is handed to you and you're just like, all right, I'll smoke that, I guess. Or did you have some sort of idea? Anybody in your life used it? Like, what was your understanding of it that first time?
Not in my family, because my family is mostly policing. So for me, it was always, the gateway drug, the bad thing. You're just going to be homeless. You're not going to go anywhere in life and stuff like that, right? So I stayed away from it. My mom remarried. We came into London. My life kind of got flipped upside down, and I just was rebellious 15-year-old, right? So, but no, it was great first experience. Comparing it to alcohol, I liked it more. You didn't get hungover. I could function at school the next day, still do sports. and so on, right? So for me, it was much better choice than alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Did your police family eventually accept the use, even pre-legalization?
No,
I mean,
no, I
I
want to know, what did they do when they found
but
out?
my question is still
No,
valid.
no, yours is after. Yours
Yeah,
actually comes after in timeline. So I want to know, what did your family do when they found out?
Timelines.
Did they ground you? Did they like
Oh,
try to put you in rehab?
I had the ultimatum: either quit smoking or move out of home or whatever. Honestly, I kind of wish my parents beat my butt and kept me in school and lived at home and saved some money. But whatever, it is what it is. And but yeah, no, it was more of I had an intervention. My family got together, did the whole yearbook out, saying this person smoked cannabis and now they're a bum. This person, all that kind of stuff. Right? So they did the whole intervention with me, and from there I was like, you know what, I'm out. Left my home, moved out, and continued using cannabis. So.
Now you can ask.
Well, no, now this is open. Now we're down a different. This is called the
Now we're
multiverse.
down, okay,
now you've
okay.
opened up a whole
Now, perfect
door. What? Why didn't the intervention work? Why didn't those personal stories of people who had tried it and failed in life? Why didn't they work on you?
For me, seeing the amount of people I knew growing up in London, a lot of them are bricklayers, construction workers, doctors. They all smoke. So they were only focusing on the people that weren't going somewhere and not focusing on all the people that were super successful, had their own businesses and so on, right? So I was like, no. There's two sides to this coin and you just flipped on the wrong one. So it's, I kind of looked into it myself and I was like, nope, there's more medical research on this. There's more. So young kid still said no. I was like, not doing the narrative thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens is, especially with firsthand experience, is like you can hear about this demonized thing, and then when you experience it firsthand, and you're like, that wasn't anything like what they said it was going to be, and I feel okay, like you're saying, I can function, I can still play sports and whatever. So it's what's the saying? The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, and the pudding's good. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, from there, those are good.
So now the multiverse swings back around, and
fast forward to today.
At what point did the policing family start to go, wait a minute, Jeremy isn't the couch potato. He's got drive, he's got energy, he's physically healthy. When did they start to accept that? Or maybe, quite frankly, maybe they still don't.
Most of them do accept it now because it's legalized, one, and now there's more, knowledge to it. There's more people are talking about it more, and that's why I'm also here. I want to talk about it more. There's more education involved. There's more normality to it, I guess. Even some of them that I know in my family do use it because of their conditions as well, right? So. Yeah. They had bad side effects to opioids, just like I did, and now they use cannabis. And I was like, full circle. I was like, don't use it. You're going to be dropout. You're going to be. Then I'm using it now too. So,
what do you think was the biggest hindrance, though, to them as a policing family? Was it the fact that it was illegal, or was it because there wasn't enough proof in the pudding per se, or was it like kind of like, when it was illegal and we're cops, so we're against it?
Yeah, well, even my brother before, he was a cop. He was fully against it. He didn't like it. So a lot of people just didn't like it in my family. Like even my mom, she said she tried it once, and it was such a bad experience, and she never done it again, right? So, and something like that. But that's what we need to change too, is that first people's experience, what to do, not to do, how much to take, and so on. So you don't wreck that first experience, so they do come back.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's nice if you also have a friend that is experienced, like a guide, so to speak, to teach you about, THC dosing and terpenes and methods of consumption and all the things that we've touched on over 38 episodes of podcasts.
So no, it was great. Like it was nice to see a lot of them coming around. I remember when my house flooded last year, so we were living in hotels and then all this kind of stuff for 13 weeks and living off families' houses and stuff. I remember going over to my parents and I found a THC bath bomb And I was like, what is this? I was like, what happened to, this is such a bad thing, right? And I was like, people come around now that they know more about it, and it's not such a bad thing. So
Yeah, well, I mean, the stigma that we've lived with for all this time is literally, if you smoke a joint and that is the only way you can have weed or cannabis, this is what they're told, is they're going to be in this mind altered state that could possibly make them kill or rob or hurt somebody. And I mean, that's not the reality of it at all. And talk about different forms of consumption. Your parents have a topical, something that's going to help them with their muscles, or even just their skin, whatever it is that they're using it for. We need to educate people and teach them that there's more than just what we've seen in TVs and movies for the last 50 years.
They're not going to do crack the next day. That's the big thing. You're not going to touch crack the next day. I promise you. If you try cannabis, but
unless that's on your bucket list, cannabis today, crack tomorrow. Unless that, I mean,
well, we could go through the alphabet.
Yeah. What's B?
I don't even know.
So all the bad drugs start with C. They all start with C. So when did you start then? Okay, so actually, before we even get to that, you stopped using it.
Yes.
And let's go there. Why did you stop? You were you were believed in it enough to walk away from your home at a young age, go out on your own to sit there and say, look, if it's this or this, I'm leaving. But then you ended up giving it up. So what was that? What caused that to happen?
So I was at the point, 23 years old. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of working 80, 90 hours a week, 3 jobs. I was like, I need a career, something that I just get rid of all these 2-3 jobs and all this other stuff. I want a career. My family lives pretty nice lives with their careers. They have pensions. I'm like, I can't do that as policing. And I really, really wanted to get into, I want to say, that's a hard way to say it, but I wanted to get more into the investigating side of it. I wanted to look into solving cases for death and murder and, that kind of stuff. I was really intrigued by that. So I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I need to go to police foundations, be a police officer for 10 years, be a police officer. You can't smoke cannabis. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. By the time I go back to school, join the gym, put on some weight, because 120-pound officer is not scary. Went back to school. I'll be big enough, fit enough, experienced enough to actually get into policing. So that's why I quit for about 7-8 years. I stopped smoking. And I didn't really drink, because after managing a bar, really turned off by alcohol. The amount of times I've been puked on, pooped on, spit on, kicked, you name it. I've had it done. I've been stabbed. I've had gun pulled on. Like, that's legal though. Hey, that's actually encouraged. So, but I've had all that done. I've had teeth knocked out, all that kind of stuff. And from there, I was like, you know what? No, alcohol. I drink maybe once, twice a year. That's it. I just don't care for it. And then after college and after doing the bar security, I started volunteering at St. Joe's Hospital. And then eventually I went in, got a job, started working there full time, but I didn't want to give up on the security. So I kept doing security and bar management on weekends on top of that.
Okay.
I was working those 60, 70-hour work weeks.
Yeah. And so then you found out you weren't going to be a cop, and then you're like, well, if I'm not going to be a cop, I'm going to start smoking cannabis again. Is that how?
No, it's actually a lot more not as fun as that. I wish it was that simple. So for over a decade, I've been having health issues, going to doctors, going to specialists, and they're all like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, go home, go home, go home. I finally spoke to someone at the gym, and he's like, you know what, I've read this book, ask about this. Turned out I had testosterone deficiency, and that's why I had to eat so much food to kind of put on weight. I also had Crohn's and eosinophilic esophagitis. So the Crohn's, I just wasn't getting the nutrition from my food, and that's why I had to eat 10,000 calories a day. So I was put on medication for that, one of them being prednisone. About a week later, I started feeling my hair fall out, started having difficulty moving my arm. I went to the hospital. They're like, you're fine, just keep working. I went back the week later, and I was like, look, I look like a T-Rex. My arm was like up like this. I couldn't move my arm. And they're like, oh, you pulled it at the gym. I'm like, I've never hurt myself at the gym in over a decade. They gave me an arm sling, and they're like, go on your way. You're fine. It's a pulled tendon. The following week, this is at the start of COVID, I went in. I was like, look, I'm having difficulty breathing with the mask on. It feels like someone's literally stabbing me. It hurts. The doctor said, look, you're just like everyone else. Go away. It's like, we're not going to give you an exemption for a mask. They're like, just go. I'm like, this medicine bag I got in, and I was like, it's literally filled with medicine. And I was like, I started this 3 weeks ago, and now I'm not feeling well. And they said, don't care, leave. So because I work at a hospital, I went up to occupational health, and I said, look, something is wrong. And she goes, no, you're turning green. I'm calling your boss. So she called my boss, and she was like, hey, can you speak up to her? Because it was on speakerphone. I was like, I kind of stood up a bit, and I was like, hey, and then I just went, that's not, and I just passed out. Well, I died technically. It turned out I had blood clots in both my lungs, both my my arm, my neck, my forearm. Blood clots hit my heart. So I was luckily at a hospital working, speaking to a doctor. I just remember waking up to, you're okay, you're okay. I'm a doctor. I've called it code blue. I, being a stubborn 240-pound meathead, I stood up. I was like, get off of me. I'm fine. I collapsed, hit my head, and now I have herniated discs in my neck, and my vertebrae and all that kind of stuff. So from there, I started speaking to neurologists, endocrinologists, kinesiologists, hematologists, and they're like, look, you have inflammation in your brain. You need to start smoking cannabis to get the neurons fired. They're like, okay, you need to smoke cannabis or ingest cannabis for your Crohn's to bring the inflammation down. You need, so like, I'm like, okay, all these specialists are really getting into cannabis. Get off these medications. So I started looking more into cannabis and what I can do. I've had probably over 100 MRIs, CT scans, ultrasounds, due to everything that I'm going through. And it was side effect to medication. So the opioids, I was doing 14 opioids a day because I was in so much pain. I started losing vision. I couldn't speak properly. They thought I had a stroke. So the side of my face kind of droops a bit. I guess it's a weird thing, but yeah, droops a bit. I have like uneven muscles now, and just because I have no sensory. So I have, you could slap me all you want. I don't feel anything on the side of my body. So it's
we'll arrange that. That'll be a good video clip.
You'll take a video? There we go. That'll be the end credit scene. But yeah, no, it was absolutely terrifying. I was in the hospital, and my hematologist was like, look, you have a 33% chance of dying and not living to 60 because of your condition. That's not even including all these other conditions. So because of eosinophilic esophagitis, I can't swallow food or even drink water some days. So I have to go for throat dilations, where they just expand your throat so you can actually swallow food every year. So I have to go in every 6 to 8 months and get a throat dilation done to actually help me swallow. So that's the issue with the mask. So my throat is so tight, it hurts to breathe, it hurts to swallow food, and so on. So I was like, okay, so I'm getting all these side effects to medication, and now I'm seeing a rheumatologist because they believe those two autoimmune disorders mixed with the medication has caused psoriasis arthritis. So now I'm getting a lot of arthritic pain, a lot of like kind of like scabby things growing on my knees, my toes, my ankles, all because this medication. So I started going, okay, well, I'm going to look into CBD, CBG, CBD. So I started reaching out to people and inquiring about it. And it turned out this plant does everything. It helps pretty much every disease or Parkinson's, which my grandpa had Parkinson's, my grandparents died from cancer. And I'm like, I wish we had this and knew about it, and it wasn't such a bad stigma on it when my grandparents were alive. And then my 5-year-old son, was just actually stepson, got diagnosed with autism. And that went even more sour than my experience with medication. But for me, it was, okay, I'm going to email Health Canada. Believe it or not, one night I was at home with my wife. I was mixing opioids with cannabis, with like morphine, with Tylenol, with just because I was in so much pain. I sent an email to Health Canada as a joke, going, I wonder if I can open up a restaurant with food. And it came back as, this is a brilliant story, brilliant idea, run with it. So I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, right? I started reaching out to MPs, ministers, the Premier's office, AGCO, Restaurants Canada, Tourism Industry Association, and just so on and so on. Like, I've just been reaching out to everyone, and everyone's supporting it. The Premier's office told me, look, if you can get a minimum of 2,000 signatures on a handwritten petition, we'll take you serious. I said, challenge accepted. I was like, no problem, I will do this. So I traveled throughout Southern Ontario during COVID, when stores were closed. It was hard to manage stuff. By the way, I have Crohn's. You don't want to be on a field trip with someone with Crohn's. It's not fun. I felt bad for my wife and stuff that followed, like, came with us and my kids. But so I traveled over 100 cannabis retailers in Southern Ontario. I dropped off petitions. I went to events. The big one was Ribfest here in London. I went to Ribfest. I stood outside there for 5 minutes. I had a sign. I had my shirt that you guys noticed. I disinfected the pens, turned around. I had a lineup of like 10 people. And I was like, oh, okay. I was hoping to get like 5 signatures, when I was here. I ended up getting almost 500 signatures in 3 hours. And I heard stories like there was no one, well, similar to mine. I heard stories where it was, you know what? I hate this. I'll never touch it. Cannabis is a gateway drug. But my grandpa has Parkinson's and it's helped improve his quality of life. Where can I sign? And there was stuff like that, right? So I was like, okay. I had people that said they had arthritis, that they're against cannabis, but they would be up to trying it, eating it. They don't want to smoke it. They don't want to do those, sorry, I get dehydrated real quick, sorry.
No worries.
They don't want to do the tinctures. They don't want that stuff. But they're like, if we could eat our favorite cheesecake or our favorite pie, they're like, we would actually do that. And I was like, okay, well, that's a whole new market that I could kind of look into, right? So when I started reaching out to them, to the ministers and all that kind of stuff, everyone's like, we love it. A lot of them didn't know about cannabis. They're not educated about it, stuff like that. They saw the benefit to creating this industry because it's going to create jobs, improve quality of life, improve tourism, improve education system, which I've even been in talk with Fanshawe College coordinators to create programs at Fanshawe College. I have Western University students and a dean's approval to work with students to create things to actually help this industry be what it is. So I'm waiting on more meetings with the parliamentary assistant to education. I'm waiting on the 22nd, I believe it is. I have a parliamentary assistant to the Premier. We're going to be having a talk. And the Health Canada cannabis director, I've already spoke with her. So there's a lot of moving parts on this. It's going much bigger than I thought. I thought it was going to be something to do while I'm waiting for my MRIs, while I'm at home recovering, and it turned into a much bigger thing than I ever thought. It's an experience I don't want to do again, or I wouldn't want to see anyone go through, because it is not fun. I've had a billion needles in me, and have you ever taken a fragment needle? It feels like you're being stung by a bee. So to get rid of the blood clots, and that's where my story was. I wish it was as simple as I'm going back to cannabis kind of thing, but it was, I almost died. I was told I will not live, good chance I will not live past 60 by multiple doctors. And after being told for years I couldn't have a son, I now have a stepson, and I now have my first child who just was born when this happened. So I was like, no, if I'm not going to live to 60, I want to leave them something and show them that you can get your butt knocked down and get straight back up and keep going, right? So for me, it was motivation. But then sadly, last month, my 5-year-old who was diagnosed with autism, I pushed for cannabis because of my experience with medication. They said, no, let's try this. My 5-year-old son, 3 weeks later, after me telling the doctors he was hallucinating, he was seeing dots, he was peeing the bed, like he doesn't do that. It turned out that they had overdosed him 33% higher rate than the limit for a 12-year-old. My son went unconscious on the 20th last month. We end up, sorry, still fresh. Sorry. He went unconscious, and I had to carry him out to the ambulance. My wife went up with him. He was, I believe, unconscious for 18 hours or so. They said his heart rate had dropped to 40. So he was almost dead. They're like, if you had have let him sleep, because that's what I thought happened. He was at school. He was tired, like a 5-year-old. I let him sleep. And I was like, you know what? He's sleeping too long. And I went to go wake him up, and he was eyes rolled back. He was struggling to breathe. He almost looked like a gorilla, kind of trying to struggle to breathe in his sleep. So from there, I went to the hospital, and then I started seeing him wake up, and I was like, okay, you know what? He's doing better. He struggled to walk for the first couple days, all because of prescribed medication. When there's clearly an alternative that has scientific proof that it works. Why are we researching more stuff when there's stuff out there that works? So stuff like, your CBD helping with kids with autism. They're not going to get high, but we have to, again, break that stigma that you're not going to get your child high giving them CBD or CBG or whatever the makeup it is. So from there, I was like, you know what? We can't give a child weed, but you know what? My son loves, his bananas, his apple. Why can't we create something with food to give to a child, give him his medicine through food? And so that's where I'm coming along with my Les Munchies restaurant. I know children will not be allowed in the restaurant. That's a given. It'll be operated just like a bar. But I am working on proposing food delivery service to people's houses. So people with mobility issues, if you do have cancer or Parkinson's, or your grandma's in an old age home and you want to give her, cannabis or something, if she wants THC, awesome, grandma can have a good time. Because me working at a hospital, we're affiliated with a retirement home. So I've seen many of our grandparents having beers all day long, wine all day long, hiding in their air vents because they're not allowed to have it with their medicine. And I was like, you lived a good life, enjoy it, right? Enjoy your retirement. And a lot of them do smoke cannabis, believe it or not. A lot of them are out there smoking cannabis. And I was like, well, why can't we give them, a brownie or something that they used to love growing up? So I'm working on that right now. That's why I have a meeting coming up with the director for Health Canada for cannabis. And I want to be able to get this approved. Sorry, phone call coming in. I want to get this approved so we can actually improve people's quality of life. And I don't want to ever hear or see another story of someone's child almost dying because of something like this. Right. Myself, I died, whatever, but a child, no. We need to change this. We need to start educating people and actually bring in ministers to actually support it. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying we've heard through a lot of interviews, Crohn's has come up multiple times, that cannabis is being used for Crohn's. I've even heard the connections with what you're talking about with CBD, with autism. One thing that you said earlier on, and it doesn't seem as big of an issue as some of the others, even when we talk about cancers and stuff like that, but is actually pretty rampant, is the low testosterone that you mentioned as well. So I've heard it kind of connect with these other ones, but low testosterone is actually a big problem and a major health concern that doesn't get nearly talked about enough.
They just advertise the little blue pill.
Yeah.
So that's
where is cannabis with low testosterone? Where does
So I haven't started.
I can't say testosterone for the life.
No, it's okay. I struggled with mental health for a while. I was very suicidal. I did a lot of bad things, attempts, stuff like that. Before I found out that's what it was. I was like, I'd watch Family Guy and I'd start crying watching Family Guy. I'm like, this is not right. I'm the, the big bouncer guy, I'm whatever. And I'm crying watching Family Guy for a stupid reason. I'm like, something's wrong. And then it turned out that's what it was. I was producing enough testosterone to be a 60-year-old woman, they said. They said it was on a scale of 30, I was at 2 for testosterone levels. So now I have to do injections every week to bring my testosterone levels up. I was thinking in my head, great, I'm going to get even bigger now. Doesn't work that way. When you're not producing testosterone, it just levels you out to being normal, right? So, so it's a lot of mental struggles, mental health issues that I support because I smoked cannabis. Well, I started smoking cannabis again when this all started happening, right? So when I started having all my health issues, I was like, no, I've been without cannabis for almost 8 years. I'm going back into cannabis, and I was back to being, felt like me again. I felt like an actual a person, not just a burden on the society, right? So I had a couple scares with like jumping and driving and alcohol and stuff like that, and train tracks, and it's scary. And as a man, our ego gets ahead of us, and we're too scared to ask for help. We're too scared for, kind of stuff like that, which people need to know it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say something's wrong. What is it? And for me, it was just testosterone. I get that testosterone needle in me, and I felt great. I don't take it for 3 weeks. I start feeling that slip again, start getting emotional again. So you do notice with mental health. I haven't researched enough on that with cannabis yet. I've heard it does help. I've even heard it helps with hair growth now. I was reading last week it helps with hair growth, and I was like, weird. That kind of plays with testosterone, right? So it's interesting, but there's so much this plant can do. We need to have more research, more support, more government stepping in. My biggest issue was when I reached out to like Arthritis Society and Cancer Society and all these like organizations, it was, we would love to support it. We know it works. We have patients that use it, but we'll get our funding cut by big pharma if we start stepping into this, right? So I was like, there's something we have to do. So that's why I started this petition. I have a federal petition I'm working on right now. I have a meeting coming up with a MP to see if he wants to be the supporting MP for it, for the federal changes for the health regulation. So I still struggle with some words too. Regulatory system. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm doing, and not just a small pie of that rabbit hole you're talking about. I'm even trying to get Indigenous support. So I'm out there supporting. I actually got Oneida cannabis shirt on right now, but I went out there and started speaking to Indigenous people, because when I spoke to the House of Commons, they said there's only one other person out there petitioning for what you are, and it's Indigenous people. So out of respect, I drove out there. I spoke to them. I spoke to business owners. I spoke to chiefs. I spoke to NDP leader, who's also a chief in Ontario. They're like, no one's ever cared about us to come and say, what do you want? Do you mind if I do this? And I was like, well, to me, it's a respect thing. So I was like, do you mind if I do this? And if I do it while I'm speaking, do you want me to fight for anything? And they said the same thing. Everyone I talked to, it was, we want water, roads, rehabilitation centers, housing. And I was like, okay, I'll start fighting for that. So when I started doing that, ministers didn't want to talk too much because I'm not Indigenous. They don't want to listen to me. So I was like, okay, well, what if I create a business with an Indigenous person, and would that work? So I'm working on that now. I want to create a Indigenous First Nation business for hemp products. I want to get out to someone like me. I protein cups, water bottles. Let's start making them out of hemp again. Our clothing, let's make it out of hemp again. There's so many things that hemp can do that would bring enough funding into the Indigenous First Nations communities that they could afford to do that stuff. So I've already had a meeting with an Indigenous member of Parliament. They said if I do make this happen, they're going to try to get us funding to even support it. So there is something out there that can be done. It just, baby steps are in the work, and I juggling a lot in this little tiny rabbit hole. So
it's so crazy that you get one personal health scare, and that leads to what seems to be on the surface. Here's Jeremy Smith, he's opening up Les Munchies, right? And then you explain the whole story, just like, wow, that personal health scare, and seeing how cannabis helps with that is now, I mean, it's not just a restaurant, it's a whole opening up and educating on the overall wellness of cannabis, which has led you into meeting in front of the House of Commons and like talking to MPs about bigger changes with it's crazy how one person's personal health scare can lead to such
I feel
a scope of things.
I feel like, yeah, that would. I'm sorry. I'm like sitting here silent. My tears have finally dried.
Sorry.
From the story of your stepson, and I understand that the research. I'm going to try to do this without crying. I understand that the research is not where it should be, and we need to protect the growth and development of our young children and their brains. But just like when legalization, like pre-legalization, when they made the medical system, the list of ailments for allowable medical cannabis licenses was very small. Cancer, glaucoma, that was it.
Yeah.
We know today that cannabis helps way more than just those two things.
Yeah.
So all I'm asking is, as I'm sitting here wearing my cannabis is safer than pharma shirt.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Is that when you have a child that might need a little bit extra with it, like pharmaceuticals, can we not please just explore the option of cannabis, like Jeremy's saying, in the form of non-psychoactive CBD, CBN, CBG, and have an alternative? And you know what, just like they put you or your children on this medication and say, here, try this, why can't we be allowed as parents to make that decision for our children? That's where I'm like, I feel like Jeremy's, his personal experience, and then now your son's personal experience has now led you to, you know what, yes, the restaurant is the first step, but I can see you taking this further, like you're saying, to expand to maybe not just home, but have a family restaurant where it is up to the parent if they want to have that child's dinner infused or non-infused, with infused gravy or non-infused gravy. Like, I think if you can give a 16-year-old a drink at a restaurant, their parent there, like if I can take my son to a bar and he can have a beer, that's my choice. But he can't have a salad with a little bit of THC or CBD in his vinaigrette. Like,
I know they definitely won't allow it. They won't even. They're like, they said.
Oh, no, we're years.
Yeah,
we're
years,
like
years. But it's a baby step forward. I even said, so when this first started, I was like, can I do this? No. Okay. Can I do this? No. Okay. So we kind of compromised onto where I'm at today. It's very complicated because I'm trying to mix in with ministers and attorney general's office so everyone's opinions. I'm trying to go, okay, this is the step. My biggest thing is if we do this incorrectly, it's not going to happen for another 10 years. Like we have to do it properly. We have to do it safely. Especially someone who managed a bar. I've had to give CPR to people. I've had to, put people in ambulances. I've cut people, or sorry, not myself, but I've seen people cut off from alcohol, and then their boyfriends or girlfriends would go up and steep them more alcohol, and then they had alcohol poisoning. And I've had to crawl underneath stalls and pull people's heads out of toilets because they passed out puking, and it's just it's insane. Like most people don't know what's out there because they're so having a good time. They don't realize what happens. I've literally I've took women out of men's hands trying to get them in cabs because they come at 10 minutes to close and they wait to see which one's the drunkest woman and go, oh, get in the cab with me. And I run out and grab them from cabs. It is disgusting what happens, but I want to make sure with this system, and I want to say the most common question I get is, how are they going to get home? How are they going to drive? Same thing as you do in a bar. Take an Uber, take a cab, take a bus, walk, whatever you got to do. Be an adult. Be an adult. But there's a lot of puzzles to this piece, and I'm trying to do it properly. I'm actually looking at collaborating with someone who's, I don't know if I should say the name or not, but they're out in Alberta area. So we're having a meeting next week, and we're going to see if we can collaborate together. Because right now I have the Attorney General waiting, an MPP waiting, and 2 ministers waiting for documents to be sent, and I don't want to mess them up. So I'm looking at getting funding. I have a couple meetings this week for funding from pretty big companies funding this to pay this company to do all the proper paperwork to actually submit everything. Because for myself, I haven't worked in 2 years. Pretty much just been doing this. My wife had to get a job. Bless her, she's been busting her butt trying to help us out. I went from making really good money to not making any money. And the worst part was that I was denied disability. So I was like, how am I denied disability when I have 7 conditions that are debilitating? And I've sent them over 3,000 documents to prove from specialists, doctors notes. They literally told me, the insurance company said, doctors are only people with opinions. We don't have to listen to them. I was like, pardon me. I'm like, Did you not? I was like, Google Jeremy Smith cannabis. I'm all over like Global News, London Free Press, Legally Magazine, Ounce Magazine. I was like, it's not a fake story. I literally almost died. And I haven't gone to the paper about my son because he was a kid, so I don't want to show that. But yeah, after seeing him with like oxygen tubes in his nose and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, it needs to change. So I have to collaborate with people to make it happen faster. And right now is perfect because it's been 3 years and they're starting to look at everything right now. So it's a perfect time for me to propose this, because while I'm proposing it, I'm also proposing music industry. So we can have Ribfest. I've already spoke to the owner of Ribfest. Amazing guy. Love him and his wife. Like absolutely amazing. We want to do cannabis infused Ribfest. So we can actually get out here and have music festivals. I've already been speaking with DJs that have DJed for Snoop Dogg and people for like Marshmallow. I spoke to their people, and I'm like, if we do this, will you be on board? Like, let's get people going, right? Let's make this huge. So not only is it going to open up a restaurant, it's going to open up the lounges, the music events, the festivals. So it's just going to create more jobs, more work. It's going to bring more tourism in. So if you come to London, you're going to come to London for an event. You're not just going to go to an event and leave. You're going to eat food. You're going to pay for parking. You're going to maybe get a hotel. So like it's a big picture that I have to paint, because when I propose to ministers and they're like, everyone else just comes on board and they're like, we just want to have weed for food, man. And I'm like, but what? Like what? Like, that's literally how they acted when I proposed it. And I was like, no, you need to paint the whole picture. The Mona Lisa wasn't painted with a pencil crayon. It takes a lot of colors, a lot of moving parts to make this work. So that's where I'm at now. I'm in the middle of finding people to fund this. I've asked for $0 this whole time. For me, it's more of I just want to see my restaurant open. I want to be able to see, kids laughing and families happy with this. I want to see grandparents out there laughing. And I've had people come up to me, at the gym, in the park, at the grocery store, and be like, you're the guy. I saw you in, the paper. And my wife's like, oh, here we go again. I just want to get apples and, and go home, right? And it's pretty cool. But at the same time, I'm like, it's getting out there. And the amount of people that have came up to me and I've talked to for 45 minutes, an hour, just randomly, because they're like, my story's this. I had this. I'm like, this is what I want. I want people talking. I want people actually getting out there and, supporting this, making a difference.
So you described it as like everything that's happening. You're painting this Mona Lisa, who famously is, lots of color, lots of greatness went into it, but missing eyebrows. What is? She doesn't have eyebrows. Yeah, Google it. What do you feel is the missing piece right now? What is a piece that needs to fall to really start getting this to get momentum? What is the eyebrows that aren't quite there yet?
The eyebrows I need are literally the paperwork. So that's all I'm waiting for. So that's it. So like I said, I've had ministers, MPPs, Attorney General, all waiting for this. So I literally just need documentations, which the person I'm having a meeting with, that's from Alberta, already has most of this. They've already done legislative sides and stuff like that. I stayed out of the newspaper for a while because I had people saying that they were working with me, that they spoke with me. And I was like, no. I was like, I've never spoke to you in my life. I don't know you. You're going to wreck this. I'm like, you're literally going to wreck this. Like, just zip it and just wait. And I've had other people, I want to say from Alberta, reach out, BC, the US, actually someone in the US, Cannabis Solutions. Daryl Frey, I believe his last name is. Sorry if I messed up your name. But he sent me stuff after seeing me in the paper. He sent me CBD oils. He sent me CBG stuff. And he's like, give this to your son. Give it to your son. And for myself as well. Love it. He gave me oils. He gave me tinctures. He gave me water-soluble products and stuff like that. I'm like, it's just, to me, from going from a bar industry to cannabis, it's more of a family. It's more of a, you're out here supporting yourself as cannabis people. Bar industry is like, no, don't go to that bar. They suck. They're cheap or whatever. It was always, you're putting each other down. I like cannabis way better. Everyone's happy. Everyone's supporting. Like I got to meet Montel Williams, which, blew my mind that I got to meet him, but he was such a nice guy to talk to. His crew was amazing as well. But yeah, it was completely different lifestyle because I had literally just applied for corrections, and I applied for Border Patrol about a month before all this happened. So I went from someone literally going into policing aspects, security, all that kind of stuff, to cannabis. So I have a lot of people in my family that go, okay, we see it now, we see the benefit of it. And I love it. I love seeing the people that would never have touched it are now contemplating it. Even my mother-in-law, I gave her CBD cream for her arthritis and stuff. I went over yesterday and she's I'm like, yes, there we go. Like, use it, right? Like, that's what I love to see is people who normally do it. So we're moving forward. It takes more of this. So.
For sure. Well, I'm pretty sure if you tell people you've talked to the Noobie and the Doobie, you'll pretty much be green lit on anything.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot lie. I was following a podcast last week, and I messaged them in the chat of the podcast, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're from Canada. You need to contact Noobie and the Doobie." They're like, "They're amazing up in Canada." Actually, I'm on their show next week, so it was pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah, so they know about you and watching in the States too. So it's amazing. I love it.
It's phenomenon.
Great. I wonder if that was our friends at Wake and Bake America.
Wake and Bake America. Hey, that'd be a good one. But yeah, no, I wish I was actually supposed to be a spokesperson for LIFCO. Like I was going to go out there and be a speaker, not spokesperson, sorry, a speaker. And then I talked to my lawyer, and he's like, "You've signed so many NDAs." He's like, "Do not do it." He's like, "You're going to say something wrong." He's like, "You're really screwed." He's like, so I had to message her, and I'd be like, "Sorry, I have to back out." Like my lawyer said no. It sucked because when I went to LIFCO, I was talking about like, "Oh, this will be a great next step." This will be like in the crowd, just like, "Can I just walk up there? Can I please?" But I couldn't do it, right? So, but yeah, no, it is happening. We are moving forward. If you don't like it for recreational, then medicinal is an option. Sorry. And you can not take the THC and just use it for medicine. And if you want to be have a good Friday night, then yeah, come eat a burger, a poutine, a regular meal, your chicken wings and so on, and just have a good Friday night. Go to the movies after or whatever.
Imagine how crazy that is to trust the judgment of adults to make responsible choices.
Yeah.
What is how is that even possible?
See, I just want to thank you, Jeremy, because I live in a world where there are cannabis consumption lounges through you can purchase at a bar a cannabis beverage instead of an alcoholic beverage. I would like to live in a world where I can go to Home Depot and go into the garden center and get a cannabis cutting or clone. I want to go to Bath and Body Works and buy a lotion that has CBD or THC in it. So restaurants are just like, this is, to me, it just makes sense to be able to go, like you're saying, Rib Fest. How awesome would it be? Even just normal Rib Fest, but have a green truck covered in big pot leaves, and that you go over there, you're getting some infused food. I could see the crowd around the truck.
And I gotta say, I don't want to say too much about it, but the owner does support cannabis. So when I was outside, I called the police first, and I was like, "I'm going to go out there with the sign. I'm going out there with a shirt. Can I do it?" The police are like, "Go ahead." I'm like, "Yes." So I went outside, stood outside the gates. And I want to say within 5 minutes, some security came up to me and they're like, "The owner wants to talk to you." I'm like, "I've already called the police. You're not going to kick me off." He goes, "No, I want you in here." He's like, "I use cannabis for my condition." He goes, "Get your butt in there." He walked me around and he was like, "This is Jeremy. Whatever you want, let him in, but don't care." And it was amazing. Like I said, people coming up to me in wheelchairs being like, I would actually enjoy cannabis this way. And even someone with Parkinson's came up and was signing my form, and she's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "Don't be sorry." I'm like, "This is why I'm doing it. I want to help you guys." So for me, that experience was when I was like, okay, this is a wake-up call. This is bigger than just London, Ontario. It's time to go provincial and make changes, make it happen.
It's huge. You got all your signatures, I'm guessing.
Oh, if you give me 2 seconds, I could run and grab them. I have a stack about this big.
I was going to say, because if you need more, we'll just put out another call to action and we'll just get you more.
Well, the federal one is going to be a lot easier. So provincially, we have to do handwritten signatures. They don't allow e-petitions for provincial.
Okay.
So I actually had to go out and go, hi, I'm Jeremy, this is my story, whatever, and get the signatures and so on. And obviously I had over 100 cannabis retailers helping as well. That was amazing to see the support from cannabis retailers. I had a couple change their mind after they saw me in the paper going, oh, your competition now, pulled my
Right.
I had a couple go, oh, we didn't think it was serious until we saw you on, global news or something like that. And then they're like, oh, okay, now can we have more? I'm like, oh, okay, here's more. Even they're good.
Signing a petition
Yeah.
To show your support
Yeah.
because you think it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. It's like it's another example of that virtue signaling. It's just like, I'm going to sign this because it looks good. And it's like, oh wait, you were serious?
Yeah. Never mind. I'll take it back.
That's so funny.
But I even had one of the MPPs I spoke to before I even got my petition started. I reached out to lawyers and MPPs and House of Commons, and I was like, what do I do? Like, where do I start? How do I do it? The very first MPP I spoke to wanted me to monopolize it. They're like, why are you going to go do all this work if someone else can just open, an Italian one or a, Italian bakery or something like that? I'm like, I don't want to monopolize it. I'm like, look at Harvey's, Wendy's, McDonald's. There's healthy competition. Nothing wrong with it. So I got rid of that MPP, and now I have over 13 MPPs right now willing to take my petition to the House of Commons and collectively stand up for this. I have the Premier's office ready to take my petition and actually look at it. But I actually posted a picture on my Instagram. It's like a stack, like a big stack of thousands and thousands of signatures I have.
Well, you're doing so many people in our world at various levels, they go, I don't, there's too much red tape or there's too many hurdles.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they just try to circumvent them. And like you're saying, there'd be a lot of people who would have just marched in with your sign and your shirt, but you called the cops first.
Yeah.
You did the due diligence. And there's so many people who just want to kind of just circumvent it and go in and do it because it's like these red tape stuff. But when you do it like you're doing, to say it's not trying to find a way to get around the rules. It's like, these are the rules. So if I go through the rules, like you're saying, if you pull this off and you go get all the documents that they need and this goes through, you get in the door, as opposed to going underneath it all, opening it up, and then it gets shut down, and then it's this big storm of
you're like painting a picture. I can literally see.
That's why
the lasers in the movies have the laser.
Oh yeah.
I can see red tape, and I'm the kind of person that I'll be like,
no.
how do I get around it?
Just to find out who shuts off the lasers.
Like, what is this tape here for?
Yeah.
What does this mean? Well,
how do we turn it off?
And how do we get it? Yeah, what are we doing here? Let's eliminate this.
Well, I know it comes in a big factor from going into policing and learning about how the system works and all that kind of stuff. And then when everyone in my family's into policing, and I was just a bar manager, bar security manager, I got teased all the time. So I was like, if I'm doing this, I have to do it right, or I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I was like, I got to do this properly.
It's like when you see those movies where the guy runs and he scales a wall and he's jumping over everything and through everything, and then his buddy opens the door and walks in, and he doesn't
that's my boy.
Right?
He's like, did you jump? There's a door here.
Like a door right here. And it's like the same thing, you think of the laser picture of somebody who's like, have you ever seen one of the Oceans movie with Lamar? The French, right? And he's training to dance around these lasers.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Oceans team just goes, why don't we figure out a way to get it before having to go through the lasers? It's not like, why go, let's find out how to just avoid the lasers. And you find out you avoid the lasers in your way, as opposed to trying to get around the red tape and try to figure out how to avoid it all. Just go in and figure out how to either get the lasers shut off, or find another way to do it. But you don't have to do all the dancing that happens. Just go through. And some people would call what you're doing dancing. I guess it's all perspective, right? But the final product is going to be,
freedom for us to
you're going to get it done right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I've spoke to AGCO, and they're like, well, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to do that? how are we going to make it work? That we're not going to overserve people, underserve people. So I've been working with Western University students, and we've developed a machine that actually microdoses properly. So if you go in there and say, I want 0.5 milligrams of this, 5 milligrams of CBD, CBGs, THC, it goes into a machine, puts into the sauces, then we can cook with the sauce. Other than right now they're just using those little turkey basers. Maybe it's 0.5, but what if you're 1.2 or not exact measurements?
Yeah.
This way it eliminates the human error. So I developed that, and they're like, "Wow, you literally have looked at every angle." I'm like, "You have to look at how we can do this and make sure it's done properly. Otherwise, it's just not going to work." And I've had so many lawsuits, not against me, thank God, working in a bar industry, that people will try to sue for the dumbest little things.
Right.
And we have to make sure we cover our butts there, or no insurance company will even insure us. So it's like, okay, we have to have all these things in place to actually cover more than just our butts and make sure people have a good time.
I would love to see that machine.
Good for you, man. Yeah.
In action. That I feel like that's like a whole. I like science. Like I like all that little, all the nitty gritty stuff. And the what do they call that? The petri dish and the.
Well, and we've talked a lot about, like, I don't consume cannabis right now, but I'm open to, the infusing process and putting, CBD in the breakfast meal that I have now, or in some other way. And one of the things that we've often talked about is the sometime inexact science, like you're saying, you bake a cake, but you don't necessarily know if every piece of that cake is equally dosed.
Yeah.
Right? Just because
there's a little bit more butter in one side of your cake.
Right? So what you're talking about is, especially for someone like myself, who has, although come into this space, and as I'm learning, have moved into a side of advocacy and seeing the benefits of it, and coming to a place where I see that there's a very real possibility that it could benefit me, but I'm also very skeptical, and I don't want the high. And so it's like, I want to make sure if we find out a dose amount that works for me, I want to be comfortable that is I don't want to be surprised, in one thing. So I just think what you're working on right now is, what's cool to me is that it starts off from this, I'm doing this restaurant, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's so vast in terms of the impact this has on the entire industry and the perception of cannabis and the scope of what the plant can do in our world. So it's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing your story today. Where can people find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
I would say Instagram right now, and LinkedIn. So Instagram at MunchiesMerch519, or just Google Jeremy Smith Cannabis. You'll find me on LinkedIn, news articles. Add me on LinkedIn, message me. I pretty much answer everyone. So don't hesitate to reach out.
That's awesome that you can get to a place where it's just Jeremy Smith Cannabis. Just seriously, put those 3 words in and you'll find me. For everybody watching and listening, Jeremy's information will be linked below in our description boxes, both audio and video. If you want to reach out and connect and maybe even to support the process as opposed to just waiting for the final product to come out. Jeremy, thanks again for joining us today, for sharing your story. MJ, any final words?
Nope, not today.
Not
just
today.
Like always.
Jeremy, any final words?
I say let's support some changes and let's get our munches on.
That's awesome.
I love it.
All right. Thanks so much again for joining us. Everybody, connect with Jeremy Smith online however you can. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Timmy.
And I'm Mary Jane. He's the newbie,
She's the doobie, and this is the show
where we tote cannabis
talk.
from both sides.
Is that even possible?
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.